Hey everybody, this is John Wolpert, and we're here with the our weekly office hours for the Baseline Protocol. Good to see everybody here today. We have some announcements. We have some things to discuss, and we are here to talk about baselining and all things baseline. If you are not familiar with the Baseline Protocol, go to http://baseline-protocol.org and go ahead and learn all you can about that. Join us on our Slack channel, which you can get the inviter to right up at the top right corner of the page. And if you like these videos, hit the smash the hit button, or what is that? Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm hip. I'm with it. It's good to see everybody here. Tyler, Boris Breslov, Dan Shaw, Hank Van Garderen, Mariano Savaggi, who is our new Baseline Protocol project manager, who's going to whip us all into shape and make sure that the V1 version 1 of Baseline Protocol gets out on time and ready to go. Hey Bob, you got you're off mute. I'll mute you just real quick, just for Samurai Kishore is here to talk about an exciting new development in India around Baseline Protocol. And I see Mohan is there, and Nick, our cast of characters. It's good to see you guys. Sam Stokes, just back from catching fish. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Samurai, we want to talk about it later. I'm hoping that we get our illustrious friends Dan Burnett and Guy Martin on the call. There was a problem with the scheduling software for the YouTube side of for the Zoom side of this event, and it's possible that they never got the invites properly. So if that is the case, apologies to them, and we'll get them back on the show next week, I guess. But in the meantime, Samurai, I think why don't you give us the news about the Baseline show in India?
Yeah, thanks, John. As excited as I can be, this week has been very, very amazing. We've got fantastic response on the announcements that we made of Baseline coming to India, I think, and all of you have been very supportive within the TSC, within this group, as well as people who may be watching us on YouTube. I think the community in general has welcomed us very well. We are going live with the first India specific office hours / baseline show on the coming Saturday at 6 p.m. So it's been kept to slightly overlap with your time zone as well, John. So, thanks so much. You and Nick have been very supportive. And of course, I look forward to welcoming you on the first, maiden episode, as well as, the responses from our India sponsors, all thanks to the great work being done by you and Carol. That has been fantastic. Yeah, I hope to start off, and we hit the ground running and come up with some really fantastic, at least let's start with a community which is working on their versions of baseline and what are they doing with baseline. So really excited about it, and hope to bring them on here as well.
That's terrific, Samurai. How does anyone get an invite to the event? How do they find out about it? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, so for the on ramp, I think Tom Leons has done a fantastic job on the documentation as well. So you start publishing that via the website. So I think for now, anybody who needs to on ramp, who needs to join us, has to go to the website, which is baseline-protocol.org. From there, they should join the Slack channel, and we will be releasing, the time, etc., on LinkedIn as well as the Slack channel and Twitter as well. We'll also be posting via the baseline handle, right, on LinkedIn and Twitter, as well as what we'll also do is because we're using the same YouTube channel, as right now. So if people are subscribers, they will get a notification of the Indian office hours as well.
Oh, very good. And you have a Twitter account, right? What's your
I
Twitter handle?
My Twitter account is Samrat Kishore. Very simple.
All one word:
All one word.
SAMRATKISHOR.
SAMRATKISHOR. Samrat
Excellent.
Kishore.
All right, so they can tweet you that way and
Yeah.
make sure that they get.
Yeah,
So if
I
anybody's
think I'm
interested,
hyper responsive on LinkedIn and Twitter. So yeah, anybody who wants to hook up, contribute, just please come over and we'll have a chat. The and I've also created a WhatsApp group. That's also for the sponsors. There's also a community which is getting associated with us to begin with. It's called Decentrum. They already have some serious uh, dev community. What they do is, this is interesting. I want to bring it on onto this show, and for all of you as well as people watching on YouTube. This new community which is getting associated with us is slightly different than the kind of Toastmasters we've seen in the past, where every week is a new thing in blockchain. They are bringing news and new protocols, etc., every week. So that is one segment. I appreciate that format as well, but this community has been operating in a way that they create cohorts. So they create some experts, some champions within the founders. So there are 7 community leaders, and amongst themselves they take up the responsibility of a protocol. So let's say they've now agreed to also pick up baseline protocol. So they themselves will become champions first, and then they will coach a whole cohort, which will be 40 to 50 people through the next 2 3 months, and help them develop using baseline protocol. And they are super excited about the grants program as well. So yeah, let's get prepped up for seeing many more applications coming our way.
that sounds great. Um,
Yeah.
so once again, for anybody that's tuning in, what's the time frame again for the next one?
So it's happening on Saturday at 6 p.m. IST, uh, which is Indian time, 6 p.m. on Saturday. The popular
Which would
demand
be
was that we do it in
6
the
p.m.
morning
on
of that.
Saturday, and the U.S. East Coast would be
Eight,
on
9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
9 o'clock
9:30 or
in the
eight
morning.
thirty.
9 a.m. I think it's 2.5 hours, minus 2.5, so 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Well, if it's 6 p.m. IST, that would
Yeah.
be
So
8:30 or
8:30,
9:30.
8:30, 8:30.
8:30.
Apologize. Yeah,
8:30
yeah.
a.m.
A.M. Eastern
U.S.
time.
Eastern
Yeah.
Yeah.
on Friday or Saturday? No,
On Saturday.
on
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah. So the popular demand here I got was around Saturday morning. That that's something which I spoke to a lot of community leaders these days and over the past month, and then we shifted to Thursday evening or middle of the day. See, middle of the day, nobody agreed that.
Folks really want it on the weekend. That's cool.
Yeah,
Well, in
folks.
India, is Saturday is still half a day, working day, isn't it? I mean, or at least.
No, I don't think anybody in tech companies is working, or it's the other way around as well with the lockdowns. People are working 24/7. So I think having Saturdays is more like flights are in the hangar. It's more like maintenance upgrades happening on Saturdays. 5 days of the week are they're just super choked for most of the people. So I think since you also have to attract a lot of besides corporate, we also have to attract a lot of individuals to the community. I think that's why Saturday works out.
I'm
Middle of the
just
day,
I'm just
nobody agrees.
I'm
Yeah.
consulting my watch here to figure out exactly when when the, uh, what the time frame is. So wait, so 6 p.m. on Saturday in
Yeah.
IST is 8:30 a.m. on Saturday
30. Yeah.
U.S. Eastern. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I am terrible with time zone math. But yeah, okay, so that's good. It's good to know. Very
Yeah.
excited about the show, Samrat. Are you gearing up with? I've seen some of the graphics and that you guys are putting out, so it
Yeah.
looks like we're gonna have to lift our game over here.
Yeah, the designers have done a fantastic job, I think, on creating the graphics. There's a cool one. Do you want me to show it right now? And
Sure.
I can bring it up.
Here, I'll give you.
It's sort of a teaser for the show. Teaser.
You should be able to share screen at this.
Okay.
Can you do it?
There you go.
There, the baseline show India. That's great. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Then there are individual invites as well, which I'll be sending out to community leaders and our sponsors as well. So yeah, I think it gives us a sense of being more professional, outgoing with our sponsors. Uh, gives a sense of belongingness. When people do show up and present their ideas, when present their projects that they're doing on baseline, I'll be featuring them on these invites as well.
Right on. So for
Yeah.
again, for in all seriousness, hit that subscribe button if you want to be advised of the time frame for and the upcoming events for the Indian shows as well as ours. And I think Samrat, you and I should both commit to getting the booking those in earlier. I know often I'll wait till just the last minute to book in the upcoming show. So I'll try to be better on that, and you can
Sure.
you can do that too. I think you have access at this point.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's great. Congrats again. So I know that the two things that I was planning on having a conversation about today. One was Dan Burnett and Guy Martin coming on talking about the new combination of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, as well as the along with the Oasis organization. That the two have announced that that everything that we do with Baseline Protocol and with several other projects are now wrapped up in what's called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance open projects, and that is administrated through Oasis. So we're hoping to get them on the show to talk about the ins and outs of that, the details, and again, something went wrong, I think, with calendaring on Zoom, so we don't have that. I don't see them on right now, but there's that. Also, we just approved our first grant distribution, so that's exciting. So the first person to get some money out of our grant program has been approved, so they'll be getting paid, which is exciting. And we have two more grants that are being completed, and two other ones that are just being finalized. One has gotten the votes to be approved, and one is still one vote shy, but not all votes are in. So congrats to all of those folks. And I believe Biswashri Day is going to come on either this week or next. Jack, do you know? I know that she's been working with you guys over at Provide to make sure that she can deliver the Excel spreadsheet integration, which I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, Bishwashri's been doing some great work. We were working with her late last night, her early morning, getting that all prepared for the demo of that next Wednesday. We're really looking forward to it. Hope to, as you had mentioned in the past, to get a little bit of eyes on it from the Microsoft ecosystem and some of the people kind of, partners and community members within the Microsoft ecosystem. Just to get some eyes on it. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Those that are following along will be able to follow and set up the baseline stack locally and see, some of the insights that we've been able to gather and where we can kind of apply the baselining of Microsoft Excel too.
Great. Yeah, I don't see Bishwashri on today, so I guess we'll look forward to that next week. Yeah, so that's so we've got the folks on again. I think that we might have had a calendaring thing. Something went wrong with Zoom, such that like everybody that's got registration to this event no longer has it. It's not on their calendars. So I got to go figure out what that is, and we'll so I think perhaps some of the people who are planning to come on and ask questions and talk about things are missing this because of that. So we'll figure out what happened with that. And yeah, I'm hearing, yeah, I'm seeing on chat, Zach saying, yeah, send another invite. We'll do so. Yeah, as far as that's concerned, I think that we have Lauren Gibson on, and Lauren is on our team, working on one particular question. So I guess I'll take the opportunity to discuss the question that we have that we're posing to everybody. And if you're watching the show, you might want to ping my Twitter handle, Jay Wolpert, or otherwise get in touch with us over our Slack channel and talk about this one question. The question is, what goes wrong when you're trying to get paid? Why, what goes wrong when companies are trying to pay each other and they have net terms of 30, 60, 90 days, and the purchaser doesn't pay on time, or pays incorrectly, or pays not at all? What causes it? We're looking for good stories. So if you have a story about how you didn't get paid on time or correctly or ever by a client, especially when it came down to not the client going out of business or something shady, but something just going wrong with the consistency of the information between your company and their company, we're really interested in those stories. So if you've got a story like that, feel free to come in and talk about it. We might put you into an article.
Yeah, and I would just say that if anyone has any stories like that, you can go on to the Slack channel and you can find me on there and just ping me. And maybe we can set up a time to interview. That'd be great.
Right on. Thanks, Lauren. Folks on the call, did anybody here have some good stories about payment failures?
I don't personally have one myself, but I know that as we're exploring some interesting use cases with ServiceNow and ServiceNow customers, what resonates with them is the reduction in claims disputes and the opportunity to do so. And so that is something that's just continues to kind of come up through conversations that organizations feel would be hugely impactful to remediate and reduce. And so, we're at the forefront of some of these, but that has been something that's been really interesting.
Yeah, right on, Jack. I mean, there's some pretty interesting statistics out there on the subject. For example, this Exim Bank reports that 60% of invoices are paid late. Although interestingly, Japan on average pays 6 days early. The US is 7 days late. Yeah, so there's quite interesting stats on that. Things that cause late payment or non-payment: pricing errors, invoice was paid to the wrong supplier, adjustment to the quantity of an invoice, rate change adjustments, some of the obvious things, but a lot of things that most people would not think about: volume rebates not taken, duplicate payments. And I think that's one of the things that baselining properly would really help, is that. And then just general coding errors. If you're using EDI or what have you, you get the codes wrong. Some other interesting stats are that, errors in invoicing and problems with duplicates can cost small and mid-sized enterprises as much as $12,000 a month, just in dealing with duplicate payments.
John, I'm not that familiar with the invoicing, I guess, in the purchase, the POs process, but in finance in general, there was a concept of counterparty risk, which is I don't know what is exactly, as far as like invoicing, how is it being handled, or does it exist? But in finance, at least the broker dealers, the banks, I mean, there is such a thing that you have a risk a counterparty credit risk, different types of risk. Credit risk is one of them, and maybe, I mean, there are different types of risk that you encounter with a counterparty. So it's something that if you're the bank and you're dealing with a certain counterparty, you're aware of it. I mean, there are certain measures that the bank itself takes, and then there are like known regulatory measures that the regulators kind of put on you. They say you can't be exposed to certain counterparties more than like a certain percentage of your total capital.
Right.
So it's, yeah, I mean, invoices, I'm not that familiar. Like I never in the bank, and I never like dealt with the invoice financing and so on, but it's something to think about, especially if we're baselining. It will be very easily to introduce, not easily, but I mean, it's possible to introduce counterparty risk into the baseline step itself, potentially, because you could easily report like who is paying and things like that, and how they're paying.
That's right. Yeah, I think that baseline is a good way, or baselining properly between companies gives them the ability not only to report on compliance in under zero knowledge, so that they can more safely, report on, be compliant and manage regulation without exposing all their data. That's a really good thing that should make it a lot easier to, to comply without sort of being too exposed. And also, things like duplicates. If you're properly baselining your invoices, then you're gonna reduce duplicates. You're gonna reduce disputes. I know that way back in the day, we did a project in 2015 that reduced at any given time, and this was publicly shared at the time. IBM Global Finance had at any given time, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was $100 million or more in disputed in disputed payments that were tied up in disputes, and the average amount of time that it took was something like 40 days or more. Maybe it was 60. Forgive me, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it was a lot. And just using a centralized or semi-centralized system, but getting all of the payers onto the same page reduced disputes by a huge amount. Got it down to a matter of a few days, mostly because many of the disputes didn't happen at all. But the real question is, how much does counterparty risk account for bad debt, companies just going bust, or fraud, what have you, right? The real stuff versus confusion. Because where baseline applies is confusion. It's where my information and your information are not in a state of sync. What's really interesting to me, and I think Lauren, you'd agree, perhaps, is that kind of failure, right? I think that's kind of the dark matter of these failures, the last mile of counterparty risk is not only are you going to go out of business, or are you going to go bankrupt, or are you just not going to pay your bills because you can't, but rather you didn't even know you had a bill, or there's one extra zero on that bill and you don't know why.
And that's something that some of my clients used to experience in the past, in these issues with the invoice, such as the data not matching up correctly, and a collector having a problem trying to understand why did this happen? Where did this issue occur? And it would take sometimes days just to figure out what was that one invoice. And then what would have to happen sometimes is just for someone on the back end to manually go in and physically change that invoice, and then there would be no tracking at all to see when did this start and when did it stop.
Yeah, Bob, you got any good old stories about companies not being able to pay their bills correctly?
It's as you know, it's an age-old problem, right? And I think that one of the challenges is that big companies tend to stretch it out longer and make the little companies wait to get their money. So it's not so much a dispute as it's just a time thing in a world where we know we can do it a lot faster. Even 2 days seems like a long time now, but many corporations, many large corporations have pushed to 60, 90 days to pay bills. So, and I know there's also this other conversation around blockchain helping to reduce disputes. I've not seen that successfully happen yet.
I've
But-
seen it. I've seen it successfully happen, even with private blockchains. But the problem is, you've got to set them up every time. You might as well have just done it traditionally, right?
Right.
That's why. I think that's where baselining can come in, right? Is to say, we don't have to set it up every time. You've got we've got synchronicity established, or we have data sync and workflow sync without having to set up that middleware every single time.
Yes, that would be a big, huge savings right there.
Hey,
but
maybe we should get involved with baseline, Bob. Sounds like
I also have seen successful disputes reduced when you combine blockchain with IoT and other technologies which help put the right data more accurately onto the blockchain.
well, right. It's not the story isn't blockchain here, right? The story is verified multi-party workflows. It's BPM across companies that we're really talking about. It just sounds too boring to talk about it that way, right?
Correct.
But that's what's really going on, is the movement of automation, not within a single company, which is what we've been playing around with for the last 30 years, but within across companies in a consistent way, which doesn't expose data to each other inappropriately, which is kind of the trick.
Right. And
Got the impression, by the way, John, that government is catching up. We're involved in a number of cases where there's business models of companies that actually thrive on delivering reporting to the government and then changing it later on, or do dual reporting. They have to report in kilograms for export or import or whatever, and then they actually sell in liters, or in gallons, if you like. And that seems to be a business model where governments are catching on and trying to get rid of this inconsistency in reporting, really. And there is a huge opportunity for immutable records at this point in time. Governments are catching on and understanding that it would be possible, using this sort of technology, to actually get corrections out of the loop, out of the process, basically providing them with more text, basically. So I see a lot of movement in government and customs and that sort of area at this point in time, and it's all to do with billing, self-billing, that sort of thing.
And didn't the was it the G7 or G? Yeah, they are requiring in 18 months that all trade be fully digitized. So yeah,
Not going to happen.
well, even if it's 18 years, it's actually, at least it's progress, right?
Well, I was actually shocked how many of these large companies, even especially trading companies, have manual processes in place still.
Yeah, and that's another statistics that's quite interesting, is that in non-automated payables, 88% of them, according to one study, had errors. Another study we know of out of IDC has it at 33% errors. And that, 30% of the largest companies in the world still do manual PDF or fax or email document transfers. And 33% of those have an error, and it costs 50 cents per error just to find the error, not including the massive disruptions that occur from those errors. It's crazy.
Yeah, but we also see, because we do a lot of SAP customers, that the SAP customers actually, for the internal stuff, they like SAP, and then when it's going outside to the bank or to reporting of counterparties, that sort of stuff, they want to have a manual intervention. It's sort of okay. Doesn't sound logical to me. I mean, at the end of the day, whenever you lie, you have to have a very good memory of the stuff that you put out there. It's as old as the world, really. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in these chains. I mean, the chains are going to shorten up. They're going to connect more intensely, and it's going to be harder not to do a fair registration, I think.
We really like the SAP team, and I can't think of a company I ever worked in that wasn't using SAP, but they. I think that what's really an opportunity for baselining is that you can go from not just baselining or not just knowing what you know about yourself, which is what SAP will give you out of the box, right? Is a lot better control over what you know, but that without leaving SAP, if you've properly baselined your SAP system with your counterparties, that now that system can tell you not only what you know, but what reliably your counterparties know when you're supposed to know it.
And that was an issue with the previous accounts receivable software that I used, because what would happen is they would take the information from an SAP, and if it was wrong, we could correct it in the accounts receivable software, but that wouldn't correct the issue in SAP. And that's just another example of data inconsistency.
Right, and even if you do do it both in those two systems that you're running, you don't know for sure that it got corrected on the other side, right? With the counterparty.
Absolutely, because when the data refreshes every night, because what would happen is the data would come into the system around 2 a.m. every night, and once it would refresh, you would have to talk to the IT department at the large company to tell them to actually also change it in their ERP system like SAP. And it would just take a long time to on both sides for the data to match up.
Hey, John. Is Mohan?
Yeah, Mohan, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a slightly different kind of problem, but I just want to bring it up. Years ago, I mean, I come from the enterprise integration space and part of the platform, and I think about 20 years ago or 20, just over that, we were dealing with luggage tracking for Delta, and obviously had different airports and their own systems, and you had Delta's internal systems, and basically the problem was, how do you go about tracking luggages as it's going between different ports and air, sort of getting transferred. How do you track it, right? And the way we used to do it was we had a messaging system. It was pub sub messaging system, and we had various adapters. We had SAP adapters. We had adapters for pretty much everything that was built out. And so so if Delta was using SAP, their adapter would basically take the responsibility for synchronizing the information that came from other systems, right? I mean, and so there was a ability to keep the silos kind of connected, if you will, on a bus. But the problem was everybody had to, there had to be an adapter for every system, and people would have to agree to use this common platform, and that was always a challenge, right? And this was being done 20 years ago, and various iterations. Now you've got companies that are doing enterprise integration like Workato, Zapier, they provide adapters. But I find that it's probably simpler to be able to say, whatever your system is, there are these adapters, there's this platform which is not any particular company's platform. It's based on a standard, and therefore it's democratic. And all your contract is that you need to have a plugin, if you will, that allows you to kind of engage with this. But the advantage to baseline, I would say, versus traditional enterprise integration is you don't have a contract, right? The contract is embodied within a system. You don't really have a way of sort of saying, I will pay you, or I will pay you a penalty if I don't have the luggage available by a certain time, right? I mean, there's no contract, so I can't say, oh, there's a contract, so if I comply, I'm guaranteed to get, I'm going to guarantee to get my luggage, or I'm guaranteed to get my penalty, right? So you don't have a way of enforcing contracts. So when I looked at baseline, when I came in from my integration perspective, the thing I found about this is, yeah, there are, you need the Excel adapter, you need the SAP adapter, you need to integrate with ServiceNow. Yeah, all of them similar to what any integration platform would have to do. But the ability to disclose only what you need to disclose, the ability to set up contracts and enforce them and have payments and obligations enforced is, I think, a unique win. I mean, when I talked to Kyle first about this, and I told him, this is what I see as essentially a different approach to enterprise integration with baseline. So I see what I wanted to say was it's a larger opportunity perhaps than just invoice.
Oh yeah, thanks for saying that. I mean, I obviously I'm kind of focused on the invoice thing right now, but there's you can baseline anything, right? You can baseline any corporate or any data for that needs to be shared between counterparties in a complex way, especially when there's complex workflows involved.
Right.
Right.
And the timing right now is that obviously with this, we went public back in 2000, and it was a field of players back then. But then again in 2017, 2012 to 2017, you have now a new crop of integration players based on the cloud. Back then it was enterprise software, it was on the cloud. But now based on decentralized, DeFi decentralized, I think you have the next avatar. But the question is are people recognizing this as the larger approach, sort of the next approach to the integration problem?
Well, I think even if it's a different, even if there was nothing different between baselining and general multi-party enterprise integration, the fact is we're in the throes now of that move, right? I think cloud was an important predicate for that. You needed cloud before we got into serious integration cross company. Just the fact that I have to say cross company over and over again says a lot about, if you say just integration, most people that have been in the field are assuming that you meant, yeah, I just bought it. We just merged it with a company, or we bought a company and we've got to integrate their systems. And that's BPM. That's a very different kind of animal than what's begun with things like Zapier and MuleSoft and that sort of thing. That's only the beginning of cross-company integration efforts. And yeah, that's, I think, where baseline's at. All right, we're getting close to the top of the hour, and Jack, I'm seeing some questions about Unibright and Base Ledger. Any updates you want to give these guys? I know that they're always looking for news about what's going on there. That was a perfectly good answer.
Yeah, no, not so much. I'd say there's a lot of good things going. Sincerely, there's a lot of good things going, and yeah, nothing to point out today, I'd say.
All right, tough luck, you chat people. But we'll keep reporting on what's going on there. Anything else? Anything, Nick, Dan? Hey, Dan Shaw, were you on when we mentioned that the first grant is going out?
I was. Yeah, that's great news, John.
Yeah. So, and 4 more in the pipe. So we're doing well.
Awesome.
Good
to see this come first.
Yeah. And we should probably mention that we've got a video that's in production right now. We're starting the script writing on the video for the baseline protocol to really kind of an explainer on it, so that people can really very quickly understand that you're not putting data on the blockchain with baselining, so that I never have to answer that question again.
That's exciting to see that come to fruition.
Yeah. Let's just repeat after me. Data for databases, hashes and proofs for blockchains. You don't have to be scared of the public blockchain, really. Join us in the 21st century, everybody. The other thing that is very exciting, Andreas had some technical difficulties. He's pinging me on Slack, but he's now in the middle of section 5. If you're following along with the super boring standards writing that we're doing, standards are supposed to be boring, apparently. There's a new section that Andreas is working on that will be submitted soon. Section 5, which will be about workflow integrations, which is quite an interesting topic, right? So if you have a workflow, one of the problems with blockchain, private or public, is that if you set up a workflow of some kind on some kind of state channel or something, it's kind of rigid, and say somebody else is setting up something of their own at exactly the same time, you don't know about each other. And then later on, you realize that the two of you should be integrated. Oh, now you have this argument of whose blockchain are you going to use, or whose MQ series are you going to use, or whose integration bus are you going to use? And it just becomes just a silo war. Well, with this new spec, if you've got a 20-step workflow and step number 15 is able to integrate with or be input into step number 12 of somebody else's workflow, you'd be able to have that discoverable. You could then pass the preimage and the proof location to the other workflow, and you can have integrations of various kinds. So it's a lot more kind of neuroplastic than. So this is an interesting part of the spec. If anybody's interested in that, reach out to Andreas. Again, on our Slack channel, which you can get to from baseline-protocol.org. So join us there. I've noticed that the stats are going way up on both committers and participants in the channel. We're growing again, and I'm not surprised, because with all the work towards version 1, I think, and the tools around that, and the completion of the standard probably in this quarter, will be well on the way to production environment. Any last words for anyone? All right. Good to see you all. And hopefully next week we'll have our calendaring issues worked out. We'll have our friends on talking about all these new announcements. Thanks, everybody. And keep on baselining.